How you doing? It's Talking Trash. Jason Piche here. Gabe Rodriguez there. We got a lot to talk about today, and we are green with envy.
We
Apparently,
are.
I don't know what's
We
with-
are.
We're just doubling up on the green. Part of the reason I'm wearing this is because this is actually one of the D-League affiliates of the Boston Celtics. And it kind of gets in a little bit to what I want to talk about today with my 2 hot minutes, if I get that. I don't even know if I'm going to need all 2, Gabe. I just want to make sure that I had time for this.
I'm in a generous mood since the New York Football Giants won the Super Bowl, defeated the New England Patriots. I will give you my minute so you can have 2.
You're not even going to take a minute today?
Don't
Unbelievable.
Need it. Don't need it.
All right, then. Well, I'll have to touch on your Giants in it, and I think that I will. I want to address all the people that I know that know me as a Boston hater, and I want to make the big, bold statement right now that I am erasing the hate. I'm not saying that I'm ever going to like any of the Boston teams. I'm not saying I'm ever going to don any of their jerseys or their equipment. But the point is, I've had a lot of that hate going on inside me for a long time. It hasn't come out too much on the show. I've always said I don't like the Boston teams, but I've always been able to look at them objectively. In a lot of cases, I've stood up for them. And I started to think, why can't I do that outside of this show? I started to think about why I wasn't going to watch a Super Bowl that was being played when I'm hosting a sports talk show where I need to be able to talk about the Super Bowl. And a lot of things happened to make me realize that I need to be done with it. So let me just go ahead and take one of my favorite shirts here that I used to have, my I Hate Boston shirt, and we're done with it. It's done.
You're exercising some demons.
I am a little bit, Gabe. I just want to make sure that, you know, there are still certain players and that I don't like, and there are certain fans I don't like, but there are bad fans of every team. And I think I just happen to know more Boston fans that I don't like because I happen to live in an area where there are more of them. So as far as on Boston teams and on New York teams, I'm kind of erasing the hate a little bit. And what a better way to start than with a Super Bowl of this magnitude.
You know, I commend you because as any responsible sports journalist would,
yes,
you have to watch the Super Bowl.
You made that point right before the show, and you couldn't be more right. In fact, I'm going to, in honor of your New York champions, I know you're a Mets guy, but just so that I can make sure that I have a jersey on here, I have a New York Yankees jersey. This in no way means that I am any Yankee fan, just as always wearing some sort of different jersey here for the show. I'm excited to talk Super Bowl, Gabe.
All right, let's talk Super Bowl. Great Super Bowl.
It was. I got a list of questions for you. I thought we could kind of run down them, and then we can go back on them. I think you got some for me as well.
Yeah.
You watched the entire game. I was at a party, though, so sometimes you miss a few things. I think I actually missed the commercials, which we thought was going to be the only thing I would watch.
The commercial's actually slightly disappointing this year.
From what I saw, I would have to agree with you on that one. All right, so I got 6 questions here for you, and we have sound effects today. So if you're right, you'll know it, and if you're wrong, you'll also
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
All right, so my first question is, Pats, in the first half, had a safety and the 12 men against them penalty. Did their mistakes hurt them too much despite leading at halftime?
No.
I'm going to say no, but we'll come back to it. Should Wes Welker have made that catch, and should he be Bucknerized?
No.
I agree. Better Super Bowl play. Manningham's catch in this Super Bowl. That play, the throw, the catch, or the Tyree catch on the helmet in Super Bowl 42.
Manningham.
He didn't think I was going to bang him, but I did. The Patriots' legacy, is it tarnished now?
Absolutely.
I'm going to disagree. We're going to definitely come back to that one. If you had to choose the best career of a quarterback, are you going Brady, Eli, or Peyton?
Brady.
Oh, we were looking for John Elway. No, I'm just kidding. But we will get to that because it's too big to not come back to. And lastly, my question for you, Patriot players seen dancing and celebrating the night of the Super Bowl. Are you okay with this, yay or nay?
Nay.
Ding.
What'd I go, 500?
I think you batted about 500 on that one. You want to give me your questions and we can come back to them, or are we going to...
No, we'll go. I got a different format.
You got a different format.
I got some multiple choice for you. But
all right,
yeah,
so,
let's go back to those.
So you didn't think that those first half mistakes hurt the Patriots too much?
No, not too much because A, as you said, they had the halftime lead. B, they came down with the ball, chance to ice the game. If anything were a big mistake, it would have been the Welker drop or the Brady bad pass, however you want to call it, combination of both. Also, I think the most pivotal play of the game that's overlooked, Patriots are up 17-15. Ahmad Bradshaw fumbles inside the Giants' own 20. If the Patriots could somehow recover that, short field, they pretty much had the momentum at that time. They can go up 24-15 or at minimum go up 20-15. I think the bigger plays were the turnovers, the lack of turnovers, because the Giants put the ball on the carpet a few times.
Sure did, yeah.
The Patriots never recovered on those.
A lot of those little tips and bounces and stuff like that really went the Giants' way in this one, and it was really the difference in the game.
Right, and then I feel a lot of times what happens in the first half, unless the Patriots' mistakes led to the Giants having like a 20-3 lead or so, then I would agree more with you. But I also think when the game's close, you know, play calls are different and things like that, how you manage the game. So that's why I don't think what happened in the first half necessarily lost the Patriots the game, because it was still a close game.
You've talked me into it, Gabe. You've talked me into it. I think I may have to switch to a big now. But I just kind of looked at it and I thought, you know, hey, first series for the Patriots out, they get that safety. It was a silly play, as a play that normally doesn't get made, especially by somebody the caliber of Tom Brady. And then to have 12 men on the field at this point in the season, to not have your defense set enough that you could have recovered that fumble, you would have stopped the Giants from the scoring and given you the ball back and kept it moving. I just felt like the Giants wouldn't have really scored any points in that first half if it wasn't for those mistakes. So then they're looking at a 10-0 lead versus the 10-9 lead. In theory, but you know, everything shakes out different. I just felt like it was a bad start for the Patriots, and I think they needed to have a better one.
Well, and then conversely, if you look at it from the Giants' perspective, biggest play of the first half was when the Giants got that holding penalty on 3rd and 1. Giants are up 9-3. They get called for a holding penalty. If that hold doesn't get called, they have a first down inside the Patriots 40, have momentum. At that point in the game, the Giants dominated time of possession. You could argue the Patriots defense was a little tired. Giants marching from there. It could be 16-3. It could be 12-3. And also, they probably wouldn't have left the Patriots enough time on the clock for the Patriots to come down and score a touchdown at the end of the half. So I thought if any play was a big play in terms of creating a big lead, I think it was that holding call on the Giants.
Gabe, finding the plays that the masses aren't talking about, but making good points, because those are the little things. People always say, hey, if they would have done this in the second quarter. Sometimes stuff all stems from other stuff that's happened.
Right.
That whole game got completely off of its regular rocker when the first points that were scored was a 2-pointer, because that's never happened before. And it's just, those are the kind of wacky prop bets that you wish you'd made.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody did.
Someone did, and someone's very happy.
They sure are. I know you agreed that Wes Welker should have made the catch, right?
Yeah, I say he should have made the catch.
A lot of people are saying that maybe that was not a great pass from Brady, and although maybe it wasn't great, it was in the perfect spot to be away from people. You've said it before on this show. I don't remember who it was. Somebody in the playoffs who should have caught a ball from the Ravens. You were saying, if you get two hands on that ball, you should catch it. Wes Welker would tell you he should have caught it. Tom Brady will tell you he should have thrown a better pass. It's just one of those things. And for him to get thrown under the Buckner bus is completely unfair. Because when things go into the Buckner bus, they go right on through to the other side.
I don't think it's as egregious as the Buckner play.
No.
But the other thing is, too, I think the Buckner play is overblown because most people think that if Buckner fields that ball, game's over.
Right.
Red Sox win the World Series. When in actuality, the game just goes an extra inning because the Mets had tied it after the wild pitch. So if anyone, if you look at the Red Sox, it's like if they didn't throw that wild pitch and they get that out, there's no Buckner, there's nothing.
Yep.
So. But in terms of Wes Welker, Brady could have made a better pass. He could have, caught the ball. That's one of those things where, conversely, you see Eli Manning making the pass to Manningham, puts it in the perfect spot, lays it right there. Only thing Manningham has to do is stick his hands out, and the ball sticks in there like look.
And he did a great job of holding it and all the way through with two guys coming at him and falling out. He got those 2 feet. I mean, in fast motion, I didn't think he got it.
Right.
But then when you looked in the replay, you're like, "Ooh, man, that is a good catch."
And
he held on.
Right, and neither did Eli because he was trying to rush the Giants up to the line before the
Right.
Patriots can make a challenge.
Yep,
So.
and that's just a smart idea. But they did challenge it anyway and ended up losing it. So then subsequently lost a timeout, which they could have used down at the end.
Right.
And this game basically at this point, it ended, and people immediately started to talk about the Patriots and there's their legacy tarnished, and people are now, instead of Tebowing, they're Bradying, which is sitting and being somber. And I just don't get it, because I understand that this is really just about our society kind of forgetting. They're all about the now, and they're forgetting about what was. And in a span of time where we didn't have a dominant team, in my book, because I don't feel like the Patriots that won some of those Super Bowls were that great, they won them. So you can't take that away from them. They still have 3 Super Bowls and 3 Super Bowl wins, and last time I checked, that's still won more than Eli. And I just don't understand. I don't think it's fair to come down on that. This was not a very good overall Patriots team. There was a lot of doubts about them all year. They weren't the power that they were when they went in undefeated. This is a team that was led by Tom Brady, who played pretty well at times, but did not play too well in the last 2 games, and just wasn't that championship big-time caliber team. When the undefeated team lost, you felt like, woo-ah, hey. But and people are putting this one on them too, and it's like all the same thing. But there's so much space in between those teams.
Well, the one thing I could say, if you look at those 2 Super Bowls, look how many points the Tom Brady offense scored. You know, in the first Super Bowl, what they scored, 14, lose 17-14. Before the game, they always show that clip of a reporter saying that Plaxico Burress predicted that the Patriots would only score 17 points, and Brady laughed, and they only scored 14. Right. Then this game, the high potent offense of the Patriots scores 17 points, and when you think about it, they gave up a safety, so the offense basically netted them 15 points. So a team that revolves around Brady, revolves around the passing attack, and you know the defense is a weakness. It's one thing if you lose 31-28 and you put up 28 points, you could blame the defense more, but you really can't blame the defense when they hold the Giants to, in essence, 20 points because they went for 2, miss, and the 2-point conversion. Yeah, so over the course of the game, if you tell Bill Belichick before the game, Giants scored 20 points, do you win? He would take that all day. Yeah. Most Patriot fans would.
I think anybody would have taken that bet in a heartbeat.
Right.
But the Giant defense came to play, and they did what they normally do. And it was surprising a little bit that the Patriots defense, they seemed to get better as the season went on, and in the playoffs, all of a sudden, they became respectable. And see what this caller has to say. Caller, you're on Talking Trash. Go ahead.
Hey, I was watching the game on Sunday, the Super Bowl.
Good choice.
My favorite team is the Patriots. And I was really upset because Tom Brady, at the last minute, when the game was over, he was trying to find an opening for the end zone. So when he tossed the football, it seemed like the Patriots got caught it, but then he didn't. I was so pissed off because I was like, oh man, the Giants won again.
Yep. Those are statements of fact.
Yeah, I mean, the play you're referring to is the Hail Mary, and it looked from the camera angle you saw that Gronkowski had a good chance at the ball, but in reality, when different angles were shown, he wasn't that close. But the fact that they even got that opportunity was huge. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer that when teams are going for a Hail Mary, that you should blitz. Because if you send 5 guys, it will not give the wide receivers time to get downfield. Yep. And, if you have 8 guys down in the end zone defensively or 6, probably doesn't make too big of a difference anyway. So I was hoping that the Giants would blitz. But then once I saw they only rushed a few guys, I knew that at minimum he would get the ball in the end zone. And at that point, that's probably all you're hoping for.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's be honest. At that point, when there's, 5 seconds before the play goes off, you pretty much need either the most exciting play in NFL history to happen or it's over. And still, the Hail Mary made it to the end zone, and I was just sort of like, I can't believe this even got to this point.
Right.
So, it's understandable that you're upset that the Patriots lost, being a Patriot fan, but I think that your team played about as well as they could have. This Giant team was hot at the right time, and really a better team than their record indicated. If they would have been healthy throughout the season, things probably wouldn't have gone as poorly.
Yeah.
And I think, what are you going to do? You rebuild.
I think what hurts the Patriots, too, as a fan is you scored your 2 touchdowns once before the half, once right after the half, and then after halftime, you score after that one possession, you had the ball 4 or 5 times and couldn't generate anything. Couldn't put any points on the board.
Yeah,
so I think that's what will come
agree
back
with you guys
to haunt the Patriots.
It was a good game between the Giants and Patriots. They're saying that Brady was underneath a lot of pressure. His shoulder was starting to hurt him. And I feel that both teams are playing great, and the Giants, they won the Super Bowl, which they did a pretty good job. So I give the credit to the Giants.
Well, that's my biggie, and we thank you for calling in. It's nice to hear that a Patriot fan will, go ahead and give credit to the Giant fans, because I know it's definitely been an odd week so far. There's a lot of that, wherever you're working, I'm sure there's at least one Giant fan and probably at least one Patriot fan, and there's a little bit of it's a little rough maybe being around that kind of atmosphere, but it makes it exciting for people in this area. It's just another part of the reason why I decided I had to try to take this game in, and. It was not a bad Super Bowl. I've seen better. I understand that it was close, and a lot of people always get hung up on the fact that a game is close and think that that's what makes it good. I watched the whole thing, but it just wasn't as grabbing and gripping as, a nice offensive shootout would have been, or they're just, I don't know.
I just think there weren't a lot of turnovers, a lot of big plays.
There could have been.
I think the Patriots, too, their style of offense this year with a lot of the dink and the dunks doesn't make for a very exciting brand of football. No. And then, too, it's like one of those movies where you sit there for 2 hours and then the last 5 minutes reveals, who done it. So it was one of those things where everyone will remember the last 4 or 5 minutes of the Super Bowl, but the first 55 minutes probably left something to be desired.
Understandable. Now, I asked you about who you thought who has the better career as a quarterback, and I'm hearing a lot of stuff in sports talk about how great Eli is now, and how he might be better than Brady, or how he might surpass Brady, or if you had to decide today who would you choose. I don't even know where I stand on the whole thing. I just feel it's a little ridiculous that the day after the Super Bowl, we can't just let them celebrate a win, and we're talking about guys' legacies. This Giants team it's not Eli Manning alone that's winning them this game. He is the guy that's going to get the credit, but this is truly a team effort here. This is not like when you saw John Elway bringing Broncos teams to the Super Bowl to get slaughtered, and you thought to yourself, geez, who's good on this team? How'd they even get here? Well, the one guy pulled them in. Eli Manning didn't pull them into the Super Bowl. It's a team effort.
But I think Eli's shown a flair for the dramatics this year. Reason why I said Tom Brady, up to this point, has had the better career, so I don't think you can forget about the regular season.
Right, and that's where Brady.
2 years ago, Eli Manning had 30 turnovers.
Right.
Tom Brady hasn't thrown 30 interceptions in a combined 4 years.
Sure.
So when you look at it that way, and then you also take into account that Brady has one more Super Bowl victory over Eli. That's not to say if Eli gets the same amount of Super Bowl wins without the losses, then you start throwing Eli into that equation. Reason why I think Peyton's one of those regular season guys, it seems like. And what's disheartening about Peyton Manning is they've had great regular seasons. They've lost a ton of playoff games at home. And when the team's based around Peyton Manning and you put all the money on the offense except for Dwight Freeney, it's like, Peyton, if you're going to lose a playoff game, like I said before, you need to lose 34-31. So many times in the playoffs when Peyton Manning's gone out, they've scored fewer than 17 points. So if you're paid for your offense and you're an offensive team, you got to put up those numbers in the playoffs.
That's why I've always felt there was a comparison even before he won a Super Bowl. I thought Peyton Manning was going to be the next Dan Marino because he put up a ton of numbers, but he would never win in the clutch. And he did win a Super Bowl, and Dan Marino only made it to one. And I feel they're comparable. And it goes into that thing where everyone starts to wonder about people in the Hall of Fame and records and stuff like this, and they think that just because Eli has 2 rings, he's in. Well, he probably is in. But there's a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame that don't have rings, and there's a lot of guys that just had a nice career, and they just had a nice Hall of Fame career, and they got in. A little bit too much emphasis being put on regular season maybe, and the Hall of Fame stuff. You have to find a balance and find this guy's entire and whole career. And the points that I have heard that have been made is the years in between those Super Bowl wins. What happened? That year where he had all the interceptions, that tends to make you think sour on a guy. Still, at the end of the day, you can't take away those 2 rings, 2 great seasons, especially when you think about the one where they defeated the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Right. Well, to use analogies from other sports, you look at LeBron James. He'll have great regular seasons. However, he's come up lame in the fourth quarter, come up lame in the playoffs. He's going to be judged. He can win 5 regular season MVPs, 7 regular season MVPs. But until he gets the monkey off his back of winning an NBA championship, he's going to be looked upon as, you know, a loser or someone who's not elite.
You're right. and that's true. But I think it's easier to look at these players overall when they're done. It's hard to do it when they're still playing. And I think that I will go ahead and go out of sports for this one, well, to another sport with this one, and mention Joe Paterno, because I think a lot of people have tarnished his legacy or don't hold him in as high regards. But the fact is that man coached college football at a very high level for a very long time. And just because you don't remember his teams being that great at the end, or because of the scandal, you tend to get caught up in the last thing that you heard, because that's the kind of society that we're living in. But you got to look at a full body of work, and you got to wait till it's done.
Right, that's like with Tom Brady. It's the whole "what have you done for me lately?" You know, he won 3, lost his last 2. I mean, when you look at it that way, John Elway lost what, his first 3, and then he won his last 2.
Yep.
And on the last 2, Terrell Davis was the best player on the team. But because he won his last 2 and somewhat went out on top.
He was the MVP in the last one.
Right, but he's viewed differently.
Agreed.
Where like now Tom Brady, who's won more Super Bowls and lost fewer than Elway, is now,
if he wins that game, everyone's comparing him to Montana. He's a Greek god, all this, and now all of a sudden they lost, and it's like that margin of error is so small, and it may not have even really been him. You know what I mean? I understand a few of his passes may have been off here or there, but I mean, Wes Welker catches that ball, it's a different game. A few different moments, and I don't feel like that line is just so thin where people are ready to go, he's the best ever, he's so awesome, and then, oh, he's not that good anymore.
I mean, the Giants, in reality, shouldn't have made the playoffs. When they played at Dallas, they were down a score. Tony Romo had a wide open Miles Austin would have clinched the game and put him up 2 scores with about 3 minutes left. He overthrew him by like 5-6 yards. Austin said he lost the ball in the lights, but that's why the Cowboys are the Cowboys now and the Giants are the Giants now.
Well, I know we mentioned it and you agreed, but I feel like the dancing Patriots after the game is something that is just, I understand that nowadays everyone's got some sort of, you know, video recording device. They can put it on YouTube in 2 seconds. I don't know if this stuff's gone on before in the past. I'd like to think that it doesn't. I'm not saying that you need to beat yourself up for weeks on end about not winning the Super Bowl, but how about at least that night, not being seen having some big, huge party? And if I'm the one, I've heard that it was a Patriot party and that they had signed to have it. You cancel the party. You have to have a backup plan in case you don't win. And it almost makes me feel like they just so thought they were going to win that they were just going to do this party. I don't know. You can't party. Like, well, I'm not partying at a moment like that.
I think logistically though, you have to reserve the space. You have to reserve the space ahead of time, so it's paid for.
That.
But like you mentioned, it's all perception and reality. Reality of the situation, them partying doesn't mean anything. Wouldn't get them the victory back. Probably has nothing to do with how they're going to do next year. But the perception is you guys didn't really care. You guys are overpaid athletes. You got fans who are, you know, betting the mortgage, you know, throwing, busting TVs out there, you know, who are all upset and disheartened. And then you see Gronkowski and Matt Light taking off shirts and dancing. And then the other thing too, Gronkowski, you know, you're the biggest story before the game in terms of your ankle. And now you're seen dancing and moving fairly well laterally. Maybe he had a couple drinks in him.
Sure.
Hey, maybe he should have had a couple drinks before the game because he looked good out there on that video on the dance floor.
Sure, but back in the days, that's all the medicine they had. You know?
Right, and that's all they needed. But it just makes the perception look like this guy didn't care, or you know
Right.
what? He didn't leave it all on the field.
Sure.
Because with that injury, he shouldn't have been able to run. He should have had his foot iced up. He should have been laid up in bed.
And what makes that really more frustrating, and what I think has amazed, the common fan, the person who's not a Giant or Patriot fan across America, is the fact that you see the images of Tom Brady being, distraught about it, and you hear about him being the last player in his uniform, sitting in the locker room, taking it all in. And you start to almost feel bad for a guy that no one had any love for all of a sudden. And then you see a player like that, conversely, going out and doing that. I don't know. On the day of the loss, I'm laying low. I'm listening to this jam all night, and I'm just going to lay back and just kind of let it go and then get back to living the next day. But you got to at least let that loss sink in for a night and not be seen drinking out when you had an injury. This is the kind of stuff you shouldn't even have to tell people. They should just come out of the womb and after about 4 or 5 years just have this knowledge.
I also think, too, the perception of Gronkowski is, he's the one who talks to strippers, he's kind of crazy. He's like the big frat boy. So
doing a lot to help that stereotype grow.
Yeah,
Good job.
He's perpetuating it like no other. But, it's almost like, I wonder if he's almost getting a free pass, so to speak. I know we're talking about and other people are talking about, but if it was someone else, imagine if it were like a LeBron or someone who people dislike. They would be vilified.
Right, conversely, if it was somebody like a Brady out seen
Right.
dancing with Giselle that night, and we haven't even talked about her comments because, quite frankly, she doesn't matter. but point being, it's like, you gotta have some sense right there. And I know that, he wasn't the only one. I believe there was another player or two there. I heard Matt Light may have been there. If you're gonna go, if you have to go, just lay low, stay back, because people are out there with their phones and their video camera things. Somebody's gonna get something like this. It's gonna become a problem. So why make it one? Come on.
They'll learn. I'm sure Belichick and the Patriots higher ups will have some words for him. But
we only got 3 minutes left on VCam. We're gonna go into some overtime on Ustream for you Ustreaming. But is there anything else you want to mention into the good folks in the local area here before we go off the air?
Couple things. Well, this weekend, UVM men's hoop takes on Stony Brook, battle for first place. So I don't think there's been a sellout yet at Patrick Gym. So would be great to see a sellout there.
Indeed, it would. Pink zone game as well. Wear your pink. It's the Play for K game. So they're going to be wearing the pink jerseys for that one. They'll be auctioned off at the game. So come on out and try to win yourself a pink jersey and support breast cancer. Yeah. If you're against breast cancer, you're no friend of mine.
And then tonight, old school college hoops rivalries. Syracuse, Georgetown, Duke, North Carolina.
Such a big
So
night.
I know it's not like the Patrick
Kansas
Ewing
and Baylor.
days. Kansas and
Not
Baylor.
leave it out.
I don't leave Kansas Baylor out, but I know it's not a
three of the final 4 teams will be playing tonight.
Oh.
So watch if you're into college basketball and you're getting ready for the madness, you need to see these 6 teams play tonight because 3 of these teams will be in the Final Four. That is my guarantee to you.
And the fourth one?
The fourth one, I believe, would be maybe Kentucky.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Good.
I know you like to hear that one.
Like to see the Cats there.
All right. Well, we are. I see the background is up behind us, so I think we're going off the air here at VCam. Stay tuned for some extra innings action if you're watching on Ustream.tv, and if you're not, hey, go over there and check it out because we're there. And the old episodes are on YouTube, and we got a Twitter account, we got all that stuff. So go find us out there.
Yeah. And next week we'll talk NBA, NHL, maybe give a little spring training update because pitchers and catchers are headed down
Indeed,
there.
I want to talk some NBA in the extra innings segments. Some little Paul Pierce, little Kobe Bryant. We'll get into it. It's going to be good. For everyone on VCam, thanks for coming. We will be back with more trash next week.